Howdy, 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 people! Welcome to the end! It's only me today because Nani is going to a convention, and Padsave is currently doing his Canadian civic duty by serving in the... I'm not entirely sure exactly what it was he was doing. He's basically, he is a member, he's an active member of the Canadian military, but like in a civilian role. I think he's up in Antarctica right now doing some sort of research. I don't know. Whatever it is, it's pretty cool. Patty is a surprisingly awesome dude. Apart from the fact that he's obviously pretty awesome, just like normally. But he's also got some pretty cool stuff going on in his personal life. Anyway, that's neither here nor there for the purposes of this show. What is here and there is that right now it's just me, probably for an hour, with a serious pain in my lower lip that is making talking very, very painful. So, so this is gonna be fun. Yeah, it's gonna be really, really fun. Ow, ow. Yes, G Money, it is you and me, man. Bros and all of this stuff. That is some delicious pain. So, so speaking of pain, I just watched the film Hellraiser right before the show. I actually been meaning to watch it for a while. Had it queued up in Netflix for a good couple of months before I actually sat down and watched it. And for whatever reason, about an hour and a half before the show, I was just like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna watch Hellraiser. And I was really impressed. Like, I kind of expected it to be just sort of like a proto Gorn movie, like kind of like a proto Saw. Because everything I heard about it was like, oh, it's really gory, oh, it's really bloody, it's it's kind of weird and BDSM-y and stuff. It is really, really good. Like, it is a really impressively good movie. So highly recommend Hellraiser to anyone who hasn't seen it. It is definitely gory. Though in that kind of 80s way where all the practical effects are well done, but you can tell they're practical effects, so a little bit of the kind of really gross out nature of it is kind of taken away from the fact that it's really, really clear that there's a lot of prosthetics involved, but still pretty nifty. And yeah, the pinhead face and all that's pretty cool stuff, pretty nifty. Clive Barker, a guy who I really didn't pay any attention to until fairly recently, but who is, really, really cool dude. Really like his style. Just started watching some of his movies and doing a little digging into his work, and he's got an interesting style. I'll give him that. So what else has been happening recently? Well, there has been stuff and things and stuff, all good. Let's hear. Process on various Let's Reads has been kind of slow, recently due to, difficulties with people's schedules. Some people have been super busy, midterms and, near the end of year stuff. I know that Soundspeed has been kind of caught up with all that stuff recently, which is why he hasn't been around, which is why we haven't done Living the Dream, which would be something that we were really planning on kicking back into high gear, but he's been super busy, and it's just not the same without him. We love him. He's our man. Finals are coming too. Yeah, I know. Just the best times. The best times. I would be giving you a review of Civilization Beyond Earth. I really, really want to, because I adore Civilization as a series, and I got Beyond Earth, and from what little I've played of it, I really like, but there's a problem where it crashes after about 100 turns, and the solutions I've found seem to imply that I need to get the error message again before I can fix it, and it's just like, do I really want to just sit down and start a game so I can wait for an hour to find out what the problem is, so that I can then lose all my progress? And nerds, that sucks. Boo. I also gotta play Penumbra, and I want to play Penumbra as well, but like I don't know, I was gonna do that today, I guess. Probably will still do it. I will fix the Beyond Earth, and then I will give you a full review of it very soon. I will continue playing Penumbra. I really like that game. It's really cool. I'd play it right now, not for the fact that this is not a stream that is even remotely age appropriate for something like Penumbra. It is. Penumbra is it's super scary, you guys. Super duper scary. Yeah, and there's White Oak. Yay, White Oak. Speaking of super scary guys, real scary stuff. Let's see here. I'm saying a lot, and that's really bad. You're not supposed to say all that much. Let's see here. So what happened? Yes. End of the year is coming soon-ish. You can probably tell that at this point. I really did not plan very well for the show, considering the fact that I found out last minute that no one's gonna be here. But that's okay. I'm gonna recover slowly over time, and by the end of the show, it's gonna be a lot better. So Penumbra, yeah, scary stuff. Scary stuff was what I was going to talk about. There's been kind of a real lack of good scary movies recently. I've actually been finding. I really I mean, there's a while there where we were getting some. Yeah, Amnesia is super creepy. Amnesia is made by the same people that made Penumbra. It is the game they made after Penumbra, and it is very much in the same vein. Ouija, what is it called? The Ouija board, the OG board. Anyway, point is, yeah, that movie. There's a movie based off of the weird board game where you're contacting the spirits or whatever. And that one's apparently kind of lame. And unfortunately, that was the only scary movie to come out recently. I usually like to see what type of scary films come out around this time of year, but there was nothing. There was Ouija, and there's that movie, what the hell is it called? Trespasser or Stranger or whatever, that's about the stalker in the house. That might be good, but there's kind of a weird thing where all of the promotional material is sort of all the trailers and stuff are oh, the big thing is who is the stalker, who is the creepy guy, what is the who is the stranger who is stalking the lady, and then all the posters are and Idris Elba is in the movie. It's Idris Elba and that lady from the trailer. Who could the creepy stranger be? Could it be Idris Elba? It's I know that you're happy that you got Idris in the film because he's amazing. He's a fantastic actor. He's, one of the better actors of our generation. But you don't have to put. If you want to make the movie about a mystery of who the creepy stalker dude is, don't put the creepy stalker dude's face on all of the promotional material because, come on. You don't put Idris Elba on the cover of your movie that apparently has only 2 stars. And that you've already announced who the victim is, and you're trying to make a mystery out of who the killer is. It's dumb. It's dumb. It's very stupid. It's very dumb. And unfortunately, that's basically it for horror films, which is really crappy. I mean, again, I like horror movies. I'm not a huge horror buff or anything. I get creeped out by them too much, but yeah. I don't know. There's just not a lot of good, scary movies that came out recently. White Oak, it would be funny if the stalker was Nicolas Cage. It would be a little too funny, but, yeah, and that's the thing. It's what else has there been recently? The Saw franchise died 2 years ago, so that's gone. That was our last big horror franchise. There was a bunch of remakes for a while, Amityville Horror and Friday the 13th and Halloween and Nightmare on Elm Street and all that, and all of those were kind of terrible. I mean, okay, I know that some people kind of like the first Halloween remake, and I guess it's pretty good. I guess I didn't really have a strong opinion one way or the other, but and then The Thing, which was just lame, the remake of The Thing, which was lame, and recently, yeah, that was last year, and since then there hasn't really been a lot of remakes of classic horror films. So now it's a little bit I don't know. I mean, I guess it's nice to not have as many terrible horror films coming out, but On the other hand, I'd almost rather see some terrible horror films coming out than no horror films coming out. There's Paranormal Activity series that also kind of died. So yeah, hadn't seen the trailer for any new paranormal. Yeah, see that's the thing, White Oak. Like there hasn't been any Paranormal Activity movies in a while either. Paranormal Activity and Saw were kind of the last two really big horror franchises that we've had. I think AVP, that one, not a horror franchise, despite the fact that it's based on two horror franchises, and two, that was just awful, and that was several years ago. What was it? I know Rob Zombie is planning on making, he's working on a new horror movie right now, and honestly, I'm kind of happy about that, because as much as his films have a really mixed reputation, at least he's trying. He might screw up and he might not be the best horror film director or the best director or whatever, but you know what? He really honestly does try. And I gotta give him huge credit for that. He does not turn out, PG-13 horror flicks that are designed to be watched by tweens and have no blood and nothing but bad CGI. He really, really, really puts himself 100% into trying to make good old school R-rated horror flicks. So here's hoping, whatever he turns out is better than some of the things he's done in the past, because he's been really hit or miss. But much respect to you, Mr. Zombie. I really do hope that you make a good horror film. They did make a new Dracula film, but that was a straight-up action movie, not a horror movie. I would love to see a new werewolf movie, though, G-Money. I love werewolves. After zombies are my number one favorite horror movie thing. But after that, monsters. Maybe monsters first, then zombies. Really creative, crazy monsters, not it's a... you could say that zombies are monsters and vampires are monsters and werewolves are monsters and whatever. But I mean a really, really crazy creature feature monsters. Number one, then zombies, then werewolves. I like vampires too, but and sharks. I mean, do you count sharks as a horror? Yeah, you know what? Fine. Sharks, crazy monsters. No, crazy monsters, sharks, zombies, werewolves, vampires, aliens that are not the xenomorph. Xenomorph is in a class all by himself. I don't want to say because the xenomorph is just the xenomorph, whatever you want to pronounce it. I think it's pronounced xenomorph, but I like to call it the xenomorph. I don't know why. It just rolls off my tongue better. Anyway, xenomorph I don't count as a class of horror movie monster, because he is just a monster. It is just one type of monster from two franchises, technically, I guess, not counting all those stupid crossovers with everything ever. But that's the thing. It's I want a new Alien movie. Why did they never remake Alien? That seems like a really good movie to remake, because it's a classic design, it's a really scary film, and you can remake Alien probably pretty well. The film has held up extremely, extremely strongly, but I bet you could probably, it probably wouldn't be impossible to one-up it, or at least make a really worthy remake sequel sort of thing. Alien Isolation was fantastic. A movie that kind of does the Alien Isolation thing of doing people on a station with a single xenomorph, and that'd be great. I'd love that. I'd be super hype. That would be a thing for me. Have I played the new Alien? I have not played the new Alien game. I have a friend who beat it, and I want to play it. And if I ever see it on sale, when I have a little bit more money than I do now, I will definitely pick it up. And I'll probably even do a Let's Play of it, because that game looks so good. Everything I've seen of it looks so good, and the reviews I've seen for it make it sound like the type of game that I probably would have trouble beating, because I'd be too scared. But I'd love it. White Oak saying a Slender Man movie. A Slender Man movie could work, though there is a series on YouTube, I think it's called Marble Hornets, or Marble Hornet, and it is basically the Slender Man movie in the form of like 20 or 30 2-minute YouTube videos. And like the idea is like it's like a kind of like a vlog series about these people investigating the urban legend of the Slender Man, kind of like Blair Witch, but with a slightly more believable premise of each clip is like it's a bit that they captured and then they just like snipped it up. So it's not trying to go with the idea that it's found footage. It's literally like they are uploading things as they go, and over the course, and like the whole series takes place over the course of a couple of months as they, investigate Slender. And apparently, I've not seen it. That's another thing I've been meaning to watch. Apparently, it is nightmare-inducingly horrifying. Like, it's super scary, despite being a zero-budget fan project, which, I think that's awesome. Like, I'd love that. And I want to watch that. I should watch Marble Hornets, and if you like horror, you should watch Marble Hornets too, because apparently it's pretty good. If it's even called Marble Hornets, it might be Marble Hornet or something else. I think it's Marble Hornet, though. I think, like, 90% certain. Like, 99% certain it's either Marble Hornets or Marble Hornet, and, like, 90% it's Hornets. Anyway, Amnesia the movie could be creepy. Five Nights at Freddy's the movie could be creepy. Annabelle's out. That's true. Annabelle's out. Apparently that's terrible, but I mean, that is out. I will give you that much. I'm trying to actually think if Five Nights at Freddy's would make a good movie or not. Because it's kind of like, it's the type of thing where the story works in, like, the whole game works entirely because it is an interactive medium. Because you are, terrified because you are actively in charge of trying to prevent these things from scaring the bejesus out of you, and it relies on, like, forcing you to kind of get, like, more and more invested in what's going on the screen, to prevent the scares, and so that when they jump out and scare you, it's like, I was so intent that, like, now it's, like, even creepier, and it's coming, but, like, it's not necessarily a total jump scare, but, like, it's building dread. Hey, it's that guy! It'd be a creepypasta folklore based. Creepypastas I have been reading a fair number of recently. There's a lot, we're talking about horror as a genre and horror movies in particular, that guy. Creepypastas I've been reading recently, and I've been noticing that there's a lot of, like, them that really come off as, like, this is clearly written by, some schmuck on the internet. And there's a lot of them that are really kind of like, okay, this is trying way too hard to, like, explain all the scares. And it's scary because look at these scary details. Ooh, scary. It's some guy. Not that guy now. But there are some that are legitimately horrifying, and I might at some point go through and just say, like, here are some you should check out. In fact, I'll go right ahead and just say, if you can find it, look up the creepypasta series called Pen Pal. It's like 5 separate stories that all are about one person, and they tell a complete story, like a complete but fragmented story. And I think the individual parts are like Balloon, Pen Pal, Boxes, the theater, and there's one other one, I think. Friends, I think, is the last part. Anyway, it's a legitimately really creepy story, and I think part of that is actually because, unlike a lot of ones, it doesn't try too hard to be scary. Like, the whole thing is basically about a little kid who is probably being stalked by a strange and very likely disturbed individual over the course of several years, and it's like really just kind of unnerving. It's all told from the perspective of the kid after he's grown up and is kind of piecing everything together after kind of really coming to terms with what happened later on in his life, and then just kind of going back and telling stories from his childhood and kind of seeing how all the pieces connect together, and eventually revealing, like, this thing that had happened to him that he'd never really realized had been going on, despite the fact that, like, a lot of the adults in his life clearly did. because he was too young to piece together that this and this were connected and this were connected, and therefore this was a thing that was happening. Like, it's really good. I can't really give it justice on its own, but suffice to say, if you have a couple of hours, or you're a fast reader and have like an hour, read the Pen Pal series creepypasta, because it is really well done. Like, it is very, very well done. Anyway, like the folklore or Five Nights at Freddy's, Freddy is a pretty bad. We can make a movie of that. Oh yeah. Game stuff. Oh man. Yeah. No, there's some. Yeah, the Five Nights at Freddy's got some creepy stuff going on in the background of it. Video game. What video game? Sorry, White Oak asks, what video game do you think would make a good live-action movie? Now, that is an interesting question. I think there's two ways of answering that, and it depends on how you want to think about doing a live-action film. You can think about it in terms of what video game just plays exactly like a movie already, and like would be easiest to adapt, in which case you could probably just be like, I don't know, The Walking Dead or, you know, Heavy Rain or whatever, and just be like, okay, these games are in many ways like a movie to begin with, and obviously like The Walking Dead would be a perfect movie. Like, you can make a really good movie by basically just straight adapting and editing out some of the weaker parts of The Walking Dead season 1. You'd actually probably make that a 2-part movie. You probably would have to make it a 2-part movie. There's a lot of stuff there, but yeah, I think you could probably make a 2 or 3, like a duology or a trilogy of The Walking Dead season 1 and have a pretty solid movie. But that's the cheap way out. Some of the suggestions in the comments before I get to what I'd probably suggest, and we're talking about like, changing things up, making a really interesting movie out of it, is SNK the movie. Okay, Mass Effect the movie could be good. BioShock the movie, interesting. Though I think the thing about BioShock is that so much of what makes it work is the whole concept of free will that doesn't really translate to a movie as well as to a video game. Because I mean, like, the whole "would you kindly" thing wouldn't work as well if you yourself were not following the orders of Atlas as he, tells you to do things with the "would you kindly," and, playing into the expectation of a video game of do the thing that someone tells you to because they told you to, without ever thinking about the fact that, like, yeah, you basically are playing a character with no free will. Resident Evil, well, they did make a movie out of that, and it was kind of dumb, didn't have anything to do with the game, but you could do that. I think there's probably a much better Silent Hill movie than the Silent Hill movies we got. Like, Silent Hill 2, the movie, would be probably really, really good. I think there could probably be a really interesting, if not necessarily really great, movie made out of Dark Souls. I think there, you could make a very, very moody, arty kind of film out of Dark Souls. That'd be really good. You know what? I'm gonna say StarCraft. I'm gonna say StarCraft and StarCraft 2 would probably be my picks for a video game series that could be turned into a really good movie or two. I think that there is, because the thing is, StarCraft, the story, when you get past all the RTS elements, is a very fun space opera kind of, action adventure series. Dead Space, the movie, is basically just Event Horizon and Alien. Silent Hill 2, the movie, there are films kind of like that. There are not a lot of films that are exactly like StarCraft, if StarCraft was a movie. It is got elements of things like Firefly and Serenity and Star Wars and Star Trek, but really it is its own kind of distinct thing. And I think there's a really interesting movie in it. A movie about Jim Raynor going from backwater marshal to rebel leader to fugitive from the new government that he helped establish. If you kind of cut out the Protoss and Zerg campaigns, and focus it almost entirely on Raynor's perspective. Like, kind of do those bits, but, have them be relatively, like, background to Raynor's story. Focus it all on Jim Raynor and his ship. I think you could probably make a really solid series of space action movies. So I'm gonna say StarCraft. My vote is StarCraft. We're seeing people saying Dead Space a lot, and as I said, Dead Space is good. The only problem with it is if you have not seen Event Horizon, watch Event Horizon. Dead Space is Event Horizon if there were a bunch of alien monsters running around the. Well, I keep on saying it, running around the Event Horizon, which is the name of the ship. So I know it's kind of an old cliched joke to say that, Dead Space is basically just Event Horizon with aliens, but it is, it's a really good remake of Event Horizon with aliens, but it's a movie version would really kind of just bring that out in a big way. Payday could be a really good movie if done well. The thing is, they have kind of made a Payday movie. Yeah, they the team behind Payday is very, very fond of making their crazy little movie cinematics that tell a kind of a semi-cohesive story. But I bet you could probably throw money at them and actually make a real proper crime drama film about the Payday gang. There's enough there that you could probably do it. Any GTA game could be made into a movie. I do not doubt that. I don't know how well you could make a movie out of GTA, if only just because the Payday movie would basically be Heat, but with a higher focus on De Niro's character, and with the gang being a little bit more together against their bosses, as opposed to having the one psychopath in the group. Actually, you know what? I agree with some guy. Payday would make an excellent TV series, and probably a better TV series than a movie, because there is a lot there that could work for a kind of semi-serialized television series. No joke. Each season is them kind of preparing for a big a big job, and getting all the pieces together, and dealing with all their crazy contacts and avoiding the police and stuff. And then the season finale is the 2-part season finale of each season is the job itself. That would be a series I'd watch. That would be a really fun series. Portal the movie. Portal would be kind of fun. I think that would make more of a short movie than a feature length, but I could see a vignette kind of movie out of Portal. There's a lot of character there, and there's a lot of fun there. So I'd definitely watch that. Portal 2 probably more than 1, if only just because there's more characters and there's a bit more to work with there, though you could really do either one. I think you could make a longer movie out of Portal 2 in the same way that there is a longer game in Portal 2 than there is in Portal 1. But really, honestly, they're both good. The backstory of Portal that you get in Portal 2 is fantastic. I maybe if you made a movie that starts with Portal 1, kind of summing up relatively quickly, while also doing kind of the history of aperture science. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go back on that and say real quick, I would love to see a Portal movie that is not actually about Portal, the game, but is essentially a movie called Aperture Science, Aperture, and it's the story of Aperture Science, following Cave Johnson and the slow decline of Aperture as a company, and it ends with Shell waking up in the facility with GLaDOS, because the story of Cave Johnson and his assistant, whose name I can't believe I forgot her name. I know this name and I cannot remember it, but Cave Johnson and her assistant, as they deal with the founding of the company with all this high hopes, its slow descent, Cave dying, his assistant Carolyn. Thank you. No one actually said Carolyn. Thank you, me, for remembering Carolyn. Carolyn gets turned into GLaDOS. The company bounces back, and then GLaDOS kills everyone. and the movie ends with Shell waking up. Like that would be a movie I would love to see. I want to see that movie now. It's Aperture the movie. I don't care. Aperture Science, Aperture the movie, Portal, Aperture, whatever. I don't care. I want it. I want it. Yes, you can have J.K. Simmons play Cave Johnson later in life, and that'd be so good. I almost think there would have to be like an animated movie, just because I want all of the voice actors to be reprising their roles, and both Cave Johnson and like both J.K. Simmons and the lady who plays GLaDOS are fantastic voice actors and actresses, and they both are. I don't know if the lady who does GLaDOS does a lot of live action work. I know that she does all of the voice work for every Valve game ever. But I know that she's a fantastic voice actress. I know J.K. Simmons, as much as he's an excellent actor, is getting on in years. So it would probably have to be anime just so they could play their characters at earlier stages of their life. But yeah, animated movie based on Portal, but all about the story of Aperture would be fantastic. I would love that. I hope someone steals that, G-Money. I want someone to steal that idea and make it, because I want to see that movie. I want to see that movie more than I want to have credit for making that movie. Though I would happily take either. Because, I want the... oh my god, that movie... Ooh, I'm so excited now. I'm sad that no one's going to use that. Yes, someone, for the love of God, steal my idea. You can take all the credit. I don't care. I just want to see the movie. She was in Pacific Rim as the computer voice. Yes. As I said, she hasn't done I don't think she's done a lot of live action work, but she does do a ton of voice acting. And apparently Guillermo del Toro actually went to Valve and requested her personally to do the computer voice for Pacific Rim, because he was essentially just like, can I please use your voice actress, lady? She's so good. I want the GLaDOS voice. And they're like, yeah, of course. That's awesome. That's so cool. Yeah. That's the weird thing, though. She doesn't really do a lot of work outside of Valve. She does a fair bit of work, but like I know for a fact that I'm fairly certain that her almost all of her notable roles have all been for Valve, and Valve uses her for everything. Like she's in, I think the only game she doesn't appear in that they've put out since hiring her is like Left 4 Dead, and I think she might even have like a minor background voice in that at some point. Story of Ratman would also be pretty good. There's a very good Ratman comic, like an official free comic that Valve has on their website that you can read online. That is the story of Ratman, and it's pretty interesting. It's also kind of the official story about how GLaDOS actually went crazy and killed everyone, but all told from the perspective of Ratman before he kind of became Ratman. And it's interesting because like he's really portrayed as being not really altogether there from the outset. Like he's kind of like this really nerdy, really like socially awkward, nervous guy who's already really disconnected from everybody, and then GLaDOS starts killing everyone, and because he's kind of such an unnoticed person, he manages to slip out and ends up kind of worshipping the companion cube as his one, as like the only person who is there for him, until Shell defeats GLaDOS, and then he that portrait of Shell, that weird angelic painting of Shell you see in Portal 2, was painted by Ratman, and it's kind of implied that was like kind of one of the last things he did in his life was to see what Shell did, to see Shell defeat GLaDOS, and then to paint this beautiful portrait of her. And to set up things so that in Portal 2 she would be able to, get the gun and escape. So it's kind of cool. He's a really interesting character. Definitely check out the comic if you like Ratman at all, because he's such an interesting little character, and even the comic really doesn't go that far into him. It's still very much kind of an outside look at the Ratman, but oh my goodness, if they made a movie about Aperture Science, I want Ratman to be one of the main characters. Just like have him constantly in the background, kind of doing things. He doesn't even have to talk. He just is there, kind of going around doing his thing. Oh my goodness. Ugh. Oh, I'm still tired and still in pain. Still in quite a lot of pain. That's okay though. We're rounding the halfway point. Vroom vroom, mother. Let's see here. What else is there? On the subject of the horror movies. Excuse me. He got involved with the Shelga Psycho, yeah. Yes. Let's see here. What else has there been recently in the world of the spooky natural? Not much. There's been some. If they made a TF2 movie, it needs to be animated. Oh yeah, no. There's no way you can make a non-animated TF2 movie. For one thing, you need to have the same voice actors and actresses playing the parts that they play in the game, because those voices are as iconic as the characters themselves. And for another thing, the cartoony, exaggerated style, you had to have that in there, and you cannot do that without having it be goofy. Counter-Strike the movie, I don't think you could do as easily, because it would probably just turn into a relatively generic action shooter movie where TF2 actually has a lot of personality and character. Well, the thing is, you could make a TF2 movie based on Ring of Fire, the ongoing comic series about what happens when Gray Man takes over Manco from Saxton Hale, and ends up firing all the mercenaries get fired and have to gather the team together to find the administrator and secure the world supply of Australium before Gray Man can get it. There's a whole story there, and you could actually turn that into a pretty good one. Counter-Strike the movie, make it a war film. The problem with Counter-Strike the movie being a war film is Counter-Strike it's not about war, it's about counterterrorism. I mean, that's in the name. It's Counter-Strike. It is terrorists versus counter-terrorists. So it'd be less of a war film and more of a movie about, counter-terrorist agents busting up a ring of heavily armed terrorists. Half-Life the movie could be good. Half-Life 1 the movie could actually be kind of interesting. The problem with that is you need to cast Gordon Freeman, and it would kind of be sacrilegious to have him actually speaking. So it'd be sort of odd. Yeah, I think they did make that movie Flash. Was it Flashpoint? The movie, the live action Half-Life 10-minute short movie. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. You might be able to do it. I mean, they made Drive, which the main character in that barely speaks. So you could kind of do a Drive thing where Gordon is just played by some guy who just never talks, and make it kind of unnerving and a little bit weird. It'd be possible. A little odd, but possible. I mean, you can also kind of do the same thing that you do with Aperture, which would be make the guy could be played by Walter White as Gordon. I would love to see Bryan Cranston playing Gordon Freeman. That'd probably be the only way I'd be like, you know what? It's cool. He can speak now. He is Bryan Cranston. Gordon Freeman is Bryan Cranston. Just done. I'm okay. We're all good. But I guess you could probably also do something like Aperture. Make it a movie about the 7 Hours War and the establishment of the resistance after the fall. My friend, a very, very, very good friend of mine, probably actually my best friend since childhood, fairly early in my childhood, is a big Half-Life modder, and he once wrote a fan fiction for Half-Life, with actually doing some research by talking to members of the development team. He got in contact with one of the writers for Half-Life and kind of grilled him on a couple of points for this fanfiction, because when he does something, he does it right. And he got some details about kind of what their general outline ideas for the game world was, and he incorporated that into the story. So in his story, he kind of had this whole thing about how, the whole story takes place before Gordon actually arrives, and it's about a couple of refugees in City 17. and they're not with the rebels, but they're also not citizens. They're like essentially just like people who managed to avoid the initial rounding up of humanity, and then snuck into City 17 post occupation, and are now just sort of like living on the fringes. Just these dirty, nasty individuals. But they're not really with the rebels, and they're not really with the Combine, and so they kind of look at both sides with a lot of disdain and suspicion. And there's an interesting thing that he talks about in the story, which apparently he actually did get like some degree of confirmation from one of the writers, which was that the reason Gordon is so revered in the game, like the reason why you get to the city and all the rebels are like, oh my god, it's Gordon Freeman, is because the rebels, like, no one really expected to see Gordon actually come back. Like, all the scientists knew that Gordon had saved them, but no one really thought that that Gordon was going to like walk right back in. So essentially, the idea of Gordon Freeman, the legend of Gordon Freeman, was being used in a lot of ways as like a recruiting tool. Like, here's this great guy who managed to beat these aliens, and this is our crazy guy who will one day come back and save us all. And there's actually an unused asset in the game for a stained glass saintly portrait of Gordon that was going to be used. I guess it was going to be used for like essentially like little mini like churches built in honor of him, like basically turning him into a saint. And the idea was that like essentially like he'd become this larger than life figurehead for the Resistance, and that's kind of a cool idea. Like if you wanted to make a Half-Life movie about everything happening before Gordon actually arrived, Christopher Lee as Breen would be amazing. But if you want to make a movie about the time before Gordon actually arrived, you could make it about kind of the establishment of the rebels and using Gordon Freeman as this idealized figurehead for the Resistance movie, with like the Lambda symbol becoming the sign of the rebels, even though the Lambda symbol originally was basically just like the section of the lab that Gordon worked in, and where like his hazmat suit, the reason the iconic Gordon Freeman hazmat suit has the Lambda logo on it is just because that was the section of Black Mesa that he worked in, was like the Lambda complex. They were the ones doing the research into the portals. And so the whole symbol of the rebellion, the whole symbol of like the entire game, is just essentially the logo that happened to be on on Gordon's building, which is really funny and really kind of really interesting to think about the fact that it's like, this borderline holy symbol, this flag, this banner is the equivalent of people like a fast food worker at McDonald's becoming the hero of humanity and having everything, like all of humanity's hopes and dreams, resting on the symbol of the Golden Arches. I don't know, that amuses me. That amuses me terribly. Oh my god. What else is there? Throw things at me. Half-Life before the sequel. So the movie about like Half-Life 1, that would be very interesting. Especially considering the fact that Fallout, G-Money, Fallout, yes. I mean, we already have like Mad Max 2 and stuff, but like, to hell with it. I'd love to see a Fallout movie, if only just as an excuse to get another really good retro apocalypse film. Because, like Fallout 1, the movie, about like the survivors in the vault and the master, and the Vault Hunters are from Borderlands, I think, which would be another fun one. Fallout 1 had a fantastic story. Skyrim, I don't know if that would work as well as a movie, because the thing about Skyrim and most of the Elder Scrolls games is that the plots of the Elder Scrolls games are sort of terrible. Like, this is kind of a thing. Like, even people who like even people who like games like Morrowind. Well, Morrowind generally gets a pass because Morrowind had kind of interesting story, but like pretty much Oblivion, terrible story, terrible main story. Skyrim, not a great main story. Fallout 3, generally considered to probably be the weakest main story of all the Fallout games, excluding, Brotherhood of Steel, obviously, because Brotherhood of Steel is just terrible. The thing is, like, Bethesda makes games that are amazingly fun to play, that have incredible little side stories, that have cool... Well, New Vegas wasn't made by BioWare. New Vegas has a pretty good story, but that was made by the people who made Fallout 2, not Fallout 3. But that's kind of the thing. It's like Fallout 1, excellent story. Fallout 2, pretty good, pretty darn solid story. New Vegas, pretty good story. I like New Vegas a lot. Fallout 3, really terrible main story, really fun open world. Original Fallout was good. The first Fallout game, fantastic. And that's the thing. I don't want to say that Bethesda games are bad or that they have bad writing, because almost all of the Bethesda games have this weird thing where, like, 90% of the content and the writing and the side quests and the things you can do are really fun and pretty well written, and then every single one of them has a terrible, terrible main quest line. Fable games are just stupid. Like, Fable is another good example of a game that is very fun and has a really just unbelievably stupid main story. Like, all of them are really stupid. I think Fable 3 is the only one that tries to really do something interesting and unique, and it's interesting and it's unique, but it's not interesting and unique are not the same thing as good. Like Fable 1 had a kind of Fable 1 had an interesting story idea, but so much of it was so rote. It was like, okay, you will live in an idyllic town, and then it's invaded, and everyone is killed, except for you, who is saved by a hero and become a hero, and your sister, who is blinded, and then becomes the prophet. And then you either become super evil or super good, and the stuff happens. And then, I don't know, your mentor turns evil for no real reason, so you have to fight him. And then you fight the main villain, and then first you go to jail, then you fight your mentor, then you fight the main villain, and then you either become evil or good, and that's the story. Halo the movie could be really good. I know there was... Red vs. Blue, the movie exists. It's called Red vs. Blue. If you buy the DVDs, they are actually basically just done in movie form. Like, they just essentially edit out the intros and outros and put them all together as like a big movie. Which actually I think is a really good way of doing it, because the Red vs. Blue seasons are basically just, like when you cut them out and put them all together, they do turn into just, funny comedy films. Which I really recommend watching them that way if you can afford to buy the DVDs. You can actually buy like the big sets. It's like the first 7 like the Blood Gulch Chronicles, which is the first 7 seasons, are in like a $20 box set, and then you can get the Freelance trilogy as like a box set. And I'm betting the new seasons that have been coming out. I know you can buy all of them as individual DVDs, but I'm sure whatever the current arc ends up being called, you'll be able to buy in a box set. Halo, I love Halo 1. I think the other games slowly start kind of like falling apart as they go along. Reach is really strong. ODST is pretty good. Halo 1 is fantastic. So you could definitely make a movie out of Halo 1. But it might be slightly more troublesome to try and turn 2 and 3 into films, if only because 2 requires you to make 3. And 3's story was kind of weakish. Like, it wasn't terrible, but it was weak enough that I don't think you'd want to make 2 and 3 just so you can finish out the trilogy when 1 is far and away the strongest story. In fact, actually, I'd say start with Reach. Make the Reach movie and then make the Halo 1 movie, and you'd be good. Because Reach is underratedly good. Like, it is a very strong story. God of War could be fun. God of War 1 could make a fun movie. Like with Halo, 2 and 3, while not bad, kind of fell off in quality story-wise to the point where it probably ended up being to try and make movies out of them. How was ODST? I like ODST a lot. I think that it's kind of got a problem where, as a Halo game, it's probably the weakest in that it does not have a unique it invented Firefight. It gave us Firefight. And that's great. And I think the Firefight in ODST is probably one of the best in the game, in any Halo game. But it didn't give us any new Halo multiplayer, which is kind of the best part of Halo. And while the storyline is fun and unique, it's kind of short and totally unrelated to anything else that happens in any other game. So, I mean, it's not unrelated to everything that happens in every other game, but it's very much a side story that never really gets addressed. So it's kind of a thing where it's like, this is a nice story, well told, with a lot of really good actors and actresses, and then nothing comes of it. Wars I have never played. I have heard that it is a functional RTS on the console that has a story that is meh, but I have not played it. I also know that it was not made by Bungie. It's the only Halo game before Halo 4 that was not made by Bungie, and even 4 and the upcoming 5 were made by people who worked at Bungie. So while they might not necessarily be Bungie games, they are not Bungie games. Yeah, they have some of the same development team. Wars was just totally spin-offy on its own. There was a Halo anime. I know that. There was I think it was the people who did the Animatrix did essentially the Animatrix. The Animatrix, for anyone who hasn't seen it, which if you haven't watched the Animatrix, is a collection of short anime films in different styles set in the Matrix universe. None of them are about Neo or Trinity or Morpheus. They are all about the other characters. Other minor characters or just totally new characters. And they're just... and as well as a 2-part story about how the robots came to dominate the Earth, which is actually really good. Some of the stories are kind of some of them are really good, and I'd say the good to bad ratio is strongly in favor of good. So I'd watch the Animatrix, definitely interesting. If you even remotely like the first Matrix film, I think it's a very solid watch. And then they made essentially a Halo version of the Animatrix that is, in my opinion, more bad than good. It's kind of got the reverse of the Animatrix, where there's some legitimately pretty good bits, but they're outweighed by some really bad bits. Though I have friends who watched it with me who adored some of the bits that I hated. So, take my opinion with a grain of salt. Maybe you'd end up enjoying it a lot more. But if you like Halo and you want to see more Halo stuff, and like a Halo movie kind of thing, I'm not sure what it was called. I don't know if it was Spartan 1335 White Oak. I'm not even sure if that was what you were talking about, but it's not called like the Anna Halo or anything like that. I know it's the Animatrix is the one thing. Halo Legends. There you go. Thank you, White Oak. Halo Legends. I am almost certain that is actually the. You know what? Let's look it up together, shall we? I was watching Trump play Hearthstone. I like Trump. Hold on. Halo Legacy. Here we go. Halo Legacy. No, wait, is it? No, Halo Legacy is the game. You were talking about the game, weren't you? You were talking about the game. I'm a big dummy. Duhad is a nerd. I am a nerd. It's true. Halo animated movie. No, it is Halo Legend. It's. Oh, I was looking up Legacy. Yeah, here you go. Halo Legends. Animated short films about Halo. It's made by 343 Industries, which is the company that came out of Bungie. Yeah, a bunch of things. A bunch of different short features: the Babysitter, the Duel, the Package, the Origins, Homecoming, Prototype, Odd One Out. Yes. So it is a collection of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 short animated films of varying quality. I personally think, I can't remember 100% off the top of my head all of these, but I'm fairly certain the Babysitter might have been good. I think the Babysitter was good. I remember the Duel was excellent. Very, very odd, but very, very, very good. The Package, I don't remember at all. Origin, I think, is the history lesson, and that was good. Homecoming, I think, is the second part of the history lesson, and if it is, then that was good. Prototype, I don't remember, and Odd One Out is, I believe, the one. If I'm remembering right, it is the worst piece of crap I've ever watched. It was painfully awful. But as I said, I had a bunch of friends with me whose opinions I generally very much agree with and are very smart people and very savvy media consumers, and they loved it. So maybe I'm the dummy. Who knows? But I just remember that I hated that one. But yeah, check out Halo Legends if you're a big Halo fan and you want to see a Halo movie. Can't promise it'll be a good Halo movie, but it will be a Halo movie. And do check out the Animatrix because I remember most of all the shorts from the Animatrix. I remember being really good. I might be forgetting one or two duds that I just don't that I haven't chosen to remember. You know, like since there's 7 short films in Halo Legacy, I'm fairly certain there's probably a similar number in Animatrix, and I'm only remembering like 3 or 4 sections from the Animatrix. But all 3 or 4 that I'm remembering were really, really good. So it's probably worth it just for the bits that I remember as being really good. Final Fantasy the movie. There is a Final Fantasy the movie. Final Fantasy The Spirits Within and Final Fantasy Advent Children. Both of them are terrible. Both of them are really bad. Advent Children is just Final Fantasy VII, the sequel again, in addition to all the other spin-offs and sequels they made, and it's blech. And Spirits Within has almost nothing to do with anything and is just dumb and has fantastic actors slumming it super hardcore in the most expensive CG animated film. One of the I think it's actually one of the most expensive flops in history, just because it's they spent ungodly sums of money on what was for the time some of the most insanely high fidelity graphics that you could make with a computer, and yet they put no effort into the script or anything. So it's the most gorgeous for its time. It's the most gorgeous film ever that is just bland and stupid. The guy made Halo Legends to do the same to Mass Effect, each telling the story of Shepard's crew during the 2 years of Shepard's recovery in ME2. That would be cool. That if that's happening, if that's the thing that's happening, that's kind of cool. I'd like to see that. As I said, I didn't like most of Halo Legacy, but I bet he'd do better with I think he could probably do a good job with Mass Effect, and I think Mass Effect's a series that would benefit from that sort of thing, because there's some cool stories there. That would be pretty good. I'd like that. I'd like the version of that. Anyway, that's it's 1 minute till we have to say goodbye for this week, and given the fact that I am still in tremendous pain, and I need to do all this crap again tomorrow for an even longer stream, I want to let my poor painful lip recover a little bit before then. So we'll count down the clock together, and then I will see you guys next week. Or tomorrow. Depending on which one. Forgive me. Oh, dearie me. Alright, well, ladies, gentlemen, children of all ages, sexual creeds, beads, and other filibilities. For the time being, it's been a pleasure. What I did to my lip, nothing. It just is like a sore. Yeah. Anyway, see you guys next time. Bye.